Hello everybody and welcome to video number 4, Optimal Nutrition for Diabetics Part 1, and we're going to cover the low carb approach. Okay, so this is part 1 of a 3-part series, and what we're going to talk about is how low carbs is the best way of keeping your blood sugars under control. Okay, so straight off the bat, whether you're type 1 or you're type 2, we cannot metabolize carbohydrates like a non-diabetic. Okay, now type 1s we can't do it at all because we don't make insulin, and type 2s we create insulin but it doesn't do the proper job. Okay, and the more carbs you're going to eat, it just exacerbates the situation. So in an umbrella for both types, when we consume carbohydrates, and all carbohydrates are sugar, by the way, whether they're vegetables or they're like pasta, rice, sweets, cakes, anything like that. The smallest form that they break down into after digestion is sugar, and the body should use that for energy. Okay, so when we have these carbohydrates, if you're type 1 you inject the insulin, if you're type 2 the medication that you're on, so you'll produce your own insulin but it should make it more sensitive. Your blood sugars will spike. Okay, now we don't want that. Now a non-diabetic, when they eat carbohydrates, their blood sugar will rise and it'll spike, but their pancreas will match it in terms of dealing with it before it gets out of control. And when I say out of control, it shouldn't really go above 7 millimoles. Okay, for us, it's like playing chess in the dark almost, when you're trying to balance the insulin dosage and the rate of speed that it's going to start becoming effective. Now for most type 1s, the insulin that use bolus, which is a fast acting insulin, it takes around potentially 15-20 minutes to kick in. So timing really does come into that. And for type 2s as well, like, you're going to have to obviously make sure that the medication that you've had is working to prevent it going up. But this is where the diabetes roller coaster comes into it, because your bloods could be fine, you have your carbohydrate based meal, it goes up, and then the insulin kicks in and it goes down, and 9 times out of 10, if you have a Libra, this bad boy, and you look at the graph, it is like up and down, and then you correct to bring it back up, and you've went too high, then you take more insulin to come back down, and it's just a nightmare. Okay, so 2016 is when prior to 2016 is when I first attempted the low carb approach. I said this in my first video, in the intro video for this channel. I noticed my bloods were a lot lower when I would go low carb. So if you're taking medication like for type 1s and type 2s, then you'll really need to watch your insulin take, and you have to monitor, because you don't want to be running into hypos. So your insulin should come right down. If you're type 2, then the dosage that you're on for metformin eventually will get, if it is metformin or any of the other ones, you'll eventually have to start lowering that intake as well. So thing is, eat less carbohydrates and your bloods shouldn't go as high and they shouldn't spike as much. Now when we're talking about carbohydrates, potatoes, bread, pasta, pizza, all the things we like pigging out on the weekends, rice, things like that. It doesn't matter if they're brown or white based, like potatoes or sweet potatoes or brown bread or white bread. They still are high carb. It's just that anything that's like whole meal, so it has like the fibre in it, the fibre will slow down the digestion. So if you have like a white potato and a sweet potato, and they're both the same amount of carbohydrates, the white one will spike your blood glucose levels a lot faster than the sweet potato, because the sweet potato has more fibre in it. So when you're injecting your insulin, it's kind of hard to get the timing right for that, and many times in the past I'd have a white, say I'm eating white potatoes, and then you take insulin and you go high, but it does come down, and then you sort of take the same strategy for having a sweet potato with the same amount of carbohydrates, and before you know it, you've actually went low, your bloods have dropped because the insulin has kicked in far quicker than the carbohydrates have managed to digest. So, optimal nutrition part 1 for diabetics is switching to low carb. Okay, the next one I'm going to release is the ketogenic diet. So, have a wee think about taking this approach if your control isn't where you want it to be, and you're finding that whenever you have a meal, because most meals, unless you've done low carb before, every single thing that you eat is probably going to have carbohydrates in it. So give it a wee thought, take a look at some of the foods that you've been eating, the ones that you can take out, and give the low carb a try, and just be very wary that your bloods will probably start to run lower so you need to monitor as much as you can. Okay, cheers guys, see you in the next one.